Welcome back to Sustainability Matters. I'm Tria Case. I love the holidays, yet the holidays can test our time, our patience, and sometimes our eco-habits. But even small changes can make your season a little greener. Today we'll talk with 3 experts who explain how our celebrations impact the world around us and explore green gifting ideas that can fill the loved ones in your life with holiday cheer. But first, our resident holiday cheer expert, Andrew Falzone, will give us an overview of why we should pay attention to the gifts we buy, the ways we decorate, and how we celebrate.
As soon as turkey time is over, we all know what's coming next, the height of the holiday season. And regardless of how you celebrate, gift giving is often part of the equation. And for tiny tots with their eyes all aglow,
it's the most wonderful time of the year.
And while that may be true for some, what's also true is that according to Stanford University, household waste increases by 25% from Thanksgiving to New Year's. And while some of that is blamed on food, which is of course compostable, wrapping paper, product packaging, delivery boxes, and shopping bags also contribute. One of the main drivers of gift-giving waste are returns. According to the National Retail Federation, in 2022, almost 20% of all gifts were returned. That means for every 5 gifts you get, one's going back. UPS also says it handles about 70 million returns from November 20th to January 21st. Opturo manages returns for some of the world's largest retailers. It estimates 9.5 billion pounds of returns go to landfill each year, generating about 24 million metric tons of CO2 emissions. That's the same amount of CO2 as 5.1 million cars driving for a year. A study in the journal Nature estimates that returns add up to 30% to the emissions from initial delivery. Some items are even purchased with the intent to return, as logistics company Navar reports that nearly 2/3 of consumers bought the same item in multiple sizes and multiple colors. And when the holidays are over, for those that celebrate, taking down a Christmas tree is always a sad affair. A reusable Christmas tree can minimize environmental impact, but only after 5 to 10 years of reuse. And for real Christmas trees, while burning is a popular disposal method in some areas, here in New York City, it's illegal. But there's some good news. The Department of Sanitation includes Christmas trees in their composting plans. The trees are picked up and chipped into mulch, which can help turn a white Christmas into a green spring. For more tips on how to have holiday celebrations that ring in lasting cheer, let's go to the studio where our host Tria Case hears from experts whose work around sustainability will inspire us to think about hacks for the holidays that give back to the earth too. I'm Andrew Falzone for Sustainability Matters on CUNY TV.
Thanks, Andrew, for that compelling look at the complexity and impacts of our holiday decisions. Joining us are 3 distinguished guests. Sandra Goldmark, an Associate Dean at Columbia University Climate School and author of Fixation, How to Have Stuff Without Breaking the Planet. Marissa D'Antoni, an expert in waste reduction and recycling with the Department of Environmental Conservation. And Gary Dusek, the founder of Precious Plastics NYC, a micro-recycling company that diverts trash from landfills and processes it into raw materials for reuse in the arts, education, and circular manufacturing. It's great to have you all on the show with us. And Sandra, so I've been thinking a little bit about your book, Fixation, and how that applies to what we've all been doing in our daily lives. And I guess I wanted to hear a little bit about what set you down the path of writing that book?
The book is basically, it's the story of me and my husband running small short-term repair shops around New York City and fixing tons of broken objects. But really on a larger level, it's about what we learned doing all that fixing, which essentially is how to shift our thinking about stuff towards a circular mindset where we're no longer feel forced to buy something cheap and frustrated when we can't fix it, but how as a family and really as a society we can shift to a different pattern of consumption.
And so you're at DEC now, and you're Department of Environmental Conservation, and you're working to try to make sure people know about recycling and reuse. How did you happen into this, job, and what set you down that path?
Yeah, so I was a Girl Scout growing up, and we were always told, leave a place better than you found it, and why not do that for the earth and try to make the earth as clean as possible, create resilient communities. Yeah.
Wow. And you've started a company that's looking at recycling plastics products. What is the impact?
So waste management in general is a problem of scale, right? The more you scale up, the more broken it becomes, right? So essentially rather than a top-down approach, we're taking a bottom-up approach. So I scaled it down to as small as possible. So it started with my own waste. Then I started going around the neighborhood and picking up some stuff off the street and seeing what I could do there, right? 'Cause I can pick something up off the street and turn it into a product in like 15 or 20 minutes. So I collect it, I clean it, I sort it, I separate it into different colors that I want to use, and then that's then shredded, granulated, and then put into machines and then manufactured just like anything else is.
What brought you into thinking about doing this as your day job?
I think, well, my grandfather was a major influence. He didn't believe in waste. He grew up during the Depression, grapes of, every John Steinbeck novel, essentially. So there was no waste. He ate the whole apple, like the core, and then he used the stem as a toothpick, right? So that value system really translated to me.
So we're talking about gift giving, and we're talking about that during the holidays. What do the holidays mean to each of you, and what does it make you think about as we enter that time period? Maybe Sandra, you could give us a start.
For me, the holidays are about family, period. Like that's the shortest point.
So I would 100% agree with you that I think that the holidays are all about family and, just being able to be in the same room as your loved ones and actually spending time with them. Whenever I think back on any past holidays, I can't really recall any physical items that I've gotten. I always remember the day of just spending time with my family.
That's a great point.
Totally. Yeah, sharing, and generosity, consideration and imagination, I think, and sharing is those are the things that drive my holidays, I guess.
What better time to be able to stop and think about the earth and all that surrounds us than the holiday time?
In some ways, thinking about sustainability and consumption can be challenging around the holidays because the holidays are also full of a lot of big emotions and sometimes some pressure and sometimes a feeling of being overwhelmed. And so it can actually be a time when it's hard for people to think about doing something differently or doing something sustainably. But for me, when I step back from that a little bit and I think if it's really about family, it's about my parents and grandparents and my kids and my cousins, then it is therefore about what we value and how we express our love for each other. And that helps motivate me to try to make those changes and try to buy things that are more sustainable because I care about their future. I care about all of our family's futures.
100%. What are some things that we can each do to make our celebrations greener? Maybe Sandra can give us some thoughts on that.
I guess I would recommend a few simple tactics. One would be to think about giving experiences or acts of service when you can. There are so many amazing businesses and resources out there for buying thrift or refurbished or reclaimed objects. And then if you are going to buy something new, for me to really think about that, where am I going to get it? Is it something that I can feel good about, either that's sustainably sourced or that has a long lifespan, can be repaired? That's my order of operations.
Some of the best products I've purchased were at what we call our dump store. Our local dump has a place where you can put things that other people might want, and those have been some of my best things. So I hear you on that. So how do we?
Needs a rebranding.
Yeah, we call it. Yeah, well, we actually call it Dumptopia.
There you go.
How do we get people to, sort of think about this and to break the habit of just going out and buying some shiny new product?
So I think it's great to talk with your giftee beforehand to see if they actually want the item that you're giving them, because 55% of Americans during the holiday season will return gifts. And you don't want to deal with returns because a lot of the times, like these stores have to take back these items, look to see if it's broken, fix it, refurnish, whatever it is. So just ask beforehand, and gifting experiences is absolutely great. Seeing what their hobbies are, maybe getting them a gift that will enhance their hobby, but again, ask them beforehand if they actually want it.
Yeah.
Avoiding gag gifts, things like that will be opened, seen, and then either re-gifted or thrown away.
We do it for a gag gift because we like those in my family, but rather than buying new gag gifts, we do an exchange. So you find something in your house, some ridiculous item, and I think it's called White Elephant. You kind of trade it around, and that's been a great way we found to do gag gifts sustainably.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so secondhand. Keeping things in circulation is awesome.
Sort of a gag in the precious plastic community, speaking of gags, is that everybody makes coasters. Like, it's the first thing that everybody makes because the mold is fairly easy to create. So I decided to make like the next level of precious plastic coasters. So they stack, they fit together. So yeah, all of our products are made from trash. That's a good way to gift. But also just doing a little bit more research and due diligence about the company that you're buying stuff from. Like if they offer buyback programs or they offer, again, sustainably sourced or locally is great.
So we know that electronics are one of the big gift items that we see in the marketplace during holiday season. How do you think about it in the context of your child wants, the new iPhone or the new watch or whatever it might be? How do we think about moving away from that, or do we just buy those but make sure that we're doing what we need to do on the back end?
I try with every gift to be careful, make sure, is it really needed? Does the person really need it or want it at this time? And in terms of electronics, it is getting easier and easier to buy refurbished electronics. It really is.
How do we impart that to kids? I mean, that is it's a really tough change to make when kids are seeing other kids get the shiny new toy and the thing that is making the nice noises or whatever it might be. How do we start to make that transition so that kids can understand the importance of and the love that this provides?
I think kids can be pretty open to it. First of all, I think you don't present it as you're not getting this, you're getting that. You just find a way to give them the thing you want to give them that's more sustainable. I remember I gave my kids one year a trip to laser tag, an experience, but I did give like a card or a box with something in it that they could open so that they had something under the tree, because they do like that. And I think my kids at least have been pretty open to the different types of gifts.
I guess as a kid, it's like the tactile, but I think my favorite toy as a kid was like a stick and a towel, you know what I mean? So the imagination part of that, I think that is a component that I think it gets often overlooked about kids and their favorite toys. Like I remember, getting expensive toys, but then I'm playing with the stick and the towel, and I got the towel and the.
I think it's also important to frame that reuse is cool, and that you could find things that are one of a kind that other people don't have too.
It also distinguishes if the wrapping is a distinguishing
absolutely
factor. Tape is a terrible one because it's plastic, but it's also the adhesives and all that stuff as well. So I generally wrap things in a brown paper bag or like a supermarket periodical type of situation, which actually looks really cool. I don't use any tape, and then I just tie it with some string, and that's a wrap, right?
Yeah, it's a wrap. That's a great example, by the way.
I like what you said about the brown paper bags as using that as wrap. So I've seen people do cloth wrapping, so that could be like tea towels, scarves. You could always ask for them back, so you could re-gift with that, or you could give them as a part gift for the person to gift forward.
I think that New Yorkers embrace giving food or wine, partly because of the size of our apartments. It's a real commitment to bring a new object into a New York apartment. Yeah. So I do think New Yorkers have have seen that as an alternative. The holidays are also about food.
That's a great point. So we are all consuming with our families during the holidays, and oftentimes we see a lot of that food going to waste. What are things you all think about as well and when it comes to what you're serving?
Yeah, so a good way to combat food waste is properly portioning, so knowing exactly what you're going to buy for the amount of people that you're going to buy, knowing what people are going to eat, so you know what exactly the amount to buy, knowing how to store leftovers, knowing how to properly use all your leftovers before they expire, sharing your food with your guests. You could tell people to bring containers beforehand for any leftovers that they want to take home. There's huge ways to avoid food waste. It just takes a little bit of planning beforehand.
Absolutely.
Guests who take the leftovers away, that's also an act of service.
Community for refrigerators as well. I live in Spanish Harlem, and there's a couple of community refrigerators. You can just put food in there and people will eat it.
Yep.
So, and also packaging, I think, is also buying in bulk, trying to avoid plastics, not wrapping one apple in a plastic bag and then your broccoli in another plastic bag. I think just really taking a bit of time to consider beyond the food waste itself, but all the extraneous stuff that comes with that, which is plastic packaging and individually wrapped,
Yeah.
things like that. I think have a major impact actually on the waste stream.
For sure. We've got a whole bunch of products here that you've created, all great gift ideas. What kinds of trash can be turned into new products?
Pretty much anything. I mean, we've experimented with things that are technically unrecyclable. We don't say recycling, we say reclamation because it's an action word. We're actually doing the whole process, right? Most of our focus is on things that are neglected in the recycling process. Soft plastics like
So that's
LDPE.
styrofoam?
Correct. The lamp is made out of styrofoam, which is, almost 100% of the time ends up in landfill. So part of this is localness as well. Proximity, right? We hear about local produce, but we don't hear about local trash, right?
Well, it all starts with us, right? It all
Well,
starts with what you do.
yeah, and doing what you can do. Or I'm not expecting everybody to devote their lives to this process. I'm a nutcase, so I'm doing that. But I think it's about what can you do and not losing hope and not just giving up and being like, well, you know what? There's no way I can do anything, so I'm going to go further and on the consumption side.
What I love about what Gary just said and about thinking about the circular ways, it is definitely more sustainable to think in this way, but it also creates job opportunities. It creates new business models and new business opportunities. And often, as we talked about with our individual gifts, it can be a really great way and an amazing feeling even for the individual to rethink those patterns of consumption. So I think it's exciting and important to realize that some of these changes have multiple benefits in addition to being better for the planet.
Right?
The
We're
less
paying for
sustainable.
all of the environmental damage.
For sure. Yeah.
As the taxpayers, and it's billions of dollars a year to clean this stuff up. When you think about the overall impact of plastic over its life cycle in the environment, it's not cheap anymore. It's cheap for the producer, but it's not cheap for us. We're paying for all these things. I had to create my own infrastructure in order to recycle material, even though the city spends $400 million a year on recycling, right? So there's things that are falling through the cracks that we're paying for as citizens that companies are profiting very greatly off of. The disposable economy is absolutely much more profitable at this point in time because it's enabled by tax structures, by corporate incentives, by no responsibility on the producer of these materials, right? And way too much onus is placed on the consumer, I think. As a person that's hyper aware of the plastic that I consume, I don't have much of a choice, even if I'm hyper aware. And most people are not hyper aware.
Yeah.
So I think also we need to figure out how to influence larger municipal infrastructure, but also companies that are profiting off of it and we're paying for it.
That's a great point. We've been talking a lot about what we can each do, but there's also a litany of policies out there that are helping to move the market. Is that something that you're all tracking, and are there particular policies that you think will help us sort of move the ball on this?
Minimum recycled content laws are starting to be passed, which is great because then that creates more of a demand for recycled materials, right? So because they're required by law to have a minimum amount in their products, then that creates a demand, which then, puts more economy and more incentivize into recovering this material, which is extremely, it's, 75% of the labor is recovering the material in the first place.
I think what Gary just mentioned about mandatory recycled content is really important. Extended producer responsibility laws are another one, and they're really picking up steam in the United States because they benefit the environment and they can create jobs and create local value.
Can you talk a little bit about what those policies do?
So an EPR law essentially requires the manufacturer of a product to contribute to funding the infrastructure for recycling collection. Because how can you use recycled materials if they're not collected? And if the state, therefore the people, are paying for all of that infrastructure, it gets unbalanced. So this way the manufacturers help pay for the infrastructure to help collect the materials.
Fantastic.
Some of the things that the state is doing, we have a few bans in effect, which is the plastic bag ban, which prevents the distribution of plastic bags in retail situations. Same thing with the polystyrene foam ban, so banning foam trays, foam peanuts, and then we actually have an amendment to that in 2026 to ban cold storage containers.
For sure, policy can play a big role in making this happen, but we too have to sort of move the marketplace as best as we can in each of our own decision-making processes, and the holidays offer us a good time to start doing that, for sure. Mm-hmm.
I think the key, though, like I love how kind of excited Marissa and Gary are, because I think the key is sometimes there can be a false assumption that if you're going to do something sustainably or green, it's going to be less and it's going to be sadder and it's going to be worse in some way. And I think I want to challenge that. And you can see we've just been talking about some ways that are fun, joyful. It is the holiday season. Like, you really can have a home full of gifts and decorations and love and do it sustainably. It really is possible.
I think it's more love. Yeah. Actually. And also, scorched earth is pretty sad. You know what I mean? Having an environment full of garbage is pretty sad, actually. All of the other consequences are much sadder, actually, and much more costly, actually, in the long term as well. I think that's something that people don't think about.
And I will also add, the four of us think about this a lot. You don't have to be perfect and everything all green and all sustainable all the time. Sometimes you don't have time to go get the thing used ahead of time, and so I also think it's important to have a little forgiveness for yourself if once in a while, last minute, you have to buy the cheap toy online or the thing your kid really wants. That's okay too. It's just about starting to think about it and take steps.
Every little step, every little change can make a difference, and and it starts with each one of us, for sure.
And luckily, as we've talked about a little bit, when you start to make those sustainable choices, I find that you can actually uncover a more joyful gift or experience for your family and not feel like you're having to give up anything.
100%. I want to thank all of you for sharing your expertise and your thoughts with us today, and for coming into the studio, for showing us all these very cool products that you have made from trash. I look forward to continued conversation. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
You as well.
Now, Kyra is going to show us fun, easy ways we can bring some of the ideas from the show today into our own gifting this season on our Green to Go segment.
Hi, I'm Kyra Baytal, and this is Green to Go, where we practice sustainability in action. It's the holiday season, and gifts are on everyone's mind right now, which is why today's Green to Go is all about how we can make a more sustainable gift for our loved ones. I'm gonna take these old candles, and we're going to repurpose them into a new candle using this old candle vessel. And this will be a gift for my mom. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna boil a little bit of water. And I'll pour about an inch of water in there. That should be good. Then we're gonna let this boil for a little bit. While that's boiling, I'm gonna set my wick into my candle vessel. So one tip for that is you can get a little bit of wax from the candle you're gonna use, so that way it sticks to the bottom better. The water's boiling, so I'm gonna bring a couple of these over to melt. While the wax softens, so it'll take about 20 minutes, we have time to make a wrapper. I have this leftover fabric that I think will be perfect to wrap the candle in. This will wrap the candle and we'll tie it, and you'll be able to use this over and over and over again. If you're regifting or if you just want to hang it up or whatever you want to do, it's just endlessly repurposable. Yeah, this one's pretty much ready, so. Ooh, this one's like really hard to take out. All right, so I'll be careful and pick one up and pour it in. If this moves, that's okay. Okay, so that's one candle. Now we'll do the second candle, and once that's cool, we'll wrap it up with our gift wrap. The candle's ready, so we'll cut the wick. And now we're ready to wrap. And let's see if we can get a nice little bow on the top. And there you have it, the perfect repurposed gift that I hope my mom will love. I would love to see what you can come up with. So tag us on socials with your creation. The only rules are they have to be made from repurposed materials and they have to be perfect for the person you're gonna give them to. I'm Kyra Batal, and this was Green to Go.
Keep the conversation going and follow us or send us a message on social media. Better yet, download our CUNY TV app. Be sure to join us next month to discuss sustainability at home. As we hunker down and get cozy for this winter, we'll hear about ways that technology can help us turn up the heat and maybe even cut down on costs while also making sure that every New York City neighborhood gets to benefit.